Hi, mine's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video, I'd like to discuss my thoughts on the takeover of Twitter by Elon Musk. Will it be bad for the platform? Will it be ruinous for the platform? Do Musk's proposals actually make any sense? But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So it's a little bit of a weird one in a way, but Twitter actually, I find, is incredibly useful. For political news, for sharing political ideas. And anything could be classed as news media that is a conduit for informing the public. And it is of the utmost importance. I often think something like Twitter ideally would not be in private hands, because that's the problem. All of these sorts of media, they're almost exclusively owned privately. Like in the UK, we've seen the damage that a biased media can do. Arguably, it wouldn't be quite so bad if the various biases were so mixed that they cancelled one another out, or at least got members of the public thinking critically, because they'd say, oh, well, this paper says this. Oh, but this paper says this. The thing is, in the UK, it started with print news, bought up by the extremely wealthy with the main purpose of steering public opinion towards political ideas that benefited the extremely wealthy, often at the cost of everyone else. And because almost all of the print media was owned by the same sort of individuals with the same motivations, people would largely spin the same on events, which blurred the lines between fact, opinion and downright lies. Like, most people can understand if they read an account of something somewhere and they read a different account somewhere else and there's a discrepancy, they'll think, oh, there's some bias in here. But if they seem to keep getting the same ideas reinforced, they think it's like a universal truth, universally accepted. Well, it's not. Then television news emerged, and that was more accessible. More people would watch television news than would read a newspaper. And in time, the media moguls bought stations and presented those same views through this more modern medium. Now I've got web-based social media. So when you discover that fanboy of Donald Trump and all-round bellend Elon Musk takes over Twitter, and then immediately sacks everyone who was dealing with misinformation on the platform, you may be concerned. And I like Twitter. I wasn't convinced at first. And that's because it didn't seem like it would be much good, other than for people posting silly memes, which they do, and they're fun. But, after years of social media, I'll tell you what I've noticed. Facebook, which I don't really use now. I'm sorry, I do keep posting it down there. I need to remove it. I don't really use Facebook. I hate it. Because you would think that would lend itself more easily to proper discussions. But actually, it's just full of puerile rubbish. And Twitter, with its bite-sized little pissy tweets where you can't say anything, is actually a great place to follow experts on a whole range of subjects who find the platform ideal for sharing their wisdom. Because, you can share complex ideas on it. It might be a link to a blog or an article. Or they may just do a whole series of tweets, 20 of the buggers that you read through. So it's actually really good. So if Musk did trash Twitter, I'd be very disappointed. That being said, I'm not sure how likely it is. Because yes, he bought the platform for an eye-watering sum of money with no real idea what to do with it, it seems. Typical bored billionaire syndrome, maybe. But I think reality will pull him into line if he tries to take the piss too much. Just because it's a privately owned business doesn't mean governments can't rein it in if they want to. Also, he'll quickly find commercial reality biting him on the arse if he falls too far out of line. But I do think there are still worries. As someone who's been critical of British media for many years, when someone puts forward a proposal or they try and make something sound common sense, you always just think to yourself, well, let's follow this through. Does it make sense? For example, Elon Musk says he wants to charge $20 a month for the blue tick holders. Immediate red flag, because the purpose of the blue tick is supposed to be to prevent fraud and defamation. That's in the interests of the platform as well as the users. A very well-known Twitter user's followers may be the target of scams. Someone may create an account made to look like theirs. The blue tick is supposed to be a way of verifying that this account is actually the person they claim it to be. There are some users who will be so famous and so active on it that they've got millions of viewers. A scammer couldn't generate the same thing. But you can get ones, maybe politicians or someone who may not have anywhere near as many. It just lets you know this is the person it claims to be. Charging for it sounds like it's a way of letting people buy the blue tick, which they may then use to mislead or defraud others. No, says Musk. I just need it to find profitable revenue streams. We don't make enough money from advertising, he says. But this doesn't make sense. James Ball was writing in the New Statesman and made the excellent point that Twitter generates $5 billion a year, mostly from advertising, but it generates $5 billion a year. This proposal for charging for blue ticks, he says, would only generate less than $15 million a year if say 20% agreed to pay. But I would say let's actually go further than that. Like, I don't know how many would be willing to pay. It's not going to be anywhere near all of them. But let's say it is all of them. Let us just say. And let's say some extras on top because it's a way to buy your tick, you see. So let's say a load of others want. That would still be less than $100 million a year. Now, compared to its current revenues, that's insignificant. But it's actually more likely that hardly anyone would pay, really, because consider the trajectory here. The purpose of the blue tick is to verify accounts. If it's just bought, you devalue the blue tick. It no longer does what it's supposed to do. You know, all it takes is a single case of the system being defrauded and people will lose confidence. All it takes is for one little story of someone who swindled the system. They paid their $20 a month and they were able to claim to be someone they're not. And all of a sudden, confidence in the entire system's gone. And as soon as Twitter users lose confidence in the blue tick system, it loses value for everyone and no one will pay for it. Why would they? The blue tick exists for confidence, user confidence. Why would you pay for it if it doesn't give your followers the confidence for which it's intended? So the whole system collapses and you don't make anything from it. But there's a reason why people do use the blue tick now. If you remove it, and many are likely to leave the platform altogether. After all, why would they struggle on if it's causing them excessive hassle? Like if you compare Twitter and YouTube, say for me, because I can speak from experience here, because I like Twitter and I use it a lot. But I also use YouTube and I make money from YouTube. I don't make anything from Twitter. But it's just, you know, Twitter for me is somewhere for me to learn from others. I follow people who know what they're talking about. It allows me to post my own thoughts. It's actually really important as a source of information for what I do on YouTube. But that is it. It doesn't generate revenue directly. That's centered on YouTube. And that's because the only way for people to monetize content on Twitter is to produce content and then do a reply to it where you say, oh, if you like this, maybe you'd like to fund me on the crowdfunder like coffee or something like that. The content itself returns nothing. The people with huge followings who create the traffic from which Twitter extracts revenue, those people don't share in the profits. Creators, content creators on YouTube share in the profits. They do not on Twitter. If YouTube causes some bother, it has caused bother. You know, while I've been on YouTube, there was the adpocalypse. Also, when COVID hit, there was bother then as well. But you push through, you struggle through. But Twitter, for the users and content creators, is at best it's a shop window. You can use it to maybe divert people to your proper businesses. But for many, it's not even that. It's just places where they like to engage with people because they have a message they'd like to get out to people, you know, or just for fun. The threshold of shit that users will put up with on Twitter is very low. It has the benefit right now of being a valued platform by experts and other interesting people. If it loses that, the entire concept unravels pretty quickly. Personally, the way I look at it is that, I was on Twitter while the swamp monsters were doing their thing, and Musk releasing them back into the wild doesn't make it worse than it was back then. It's a shame because it was made better in between the two events, and it was continuing to be made better. You could see definite progress being made. What would stop me using it would be if the various people I follow on the platform deserted it. But that'll be the case for lots of people as well. It won't be just the people I follow desert it. It'll be loads, tens of thousands. You know, Musk's already spent a fortune on his acquisition. It may cost him even more if he carries on defaming people with the money to sue him as well. But if he fails to take note of the fact that the people who actually allow Twitter to generate their revenue, the people who provide the interest in thoughts and discussions for millions of users, they don't have a major incentive to use the platform if it becomes a cesspit for them. You know, that'll end up costing him a whole lot more. So however you look at it, Twitter's a platform that generates revenue. It's not profitable. You can see why Musk wants to explore other ways to generate, profit, of course, because it's not profitable, although it was getting a hell of a lot better. I think this is partly why I think I was concerned that Musk appeared to want it in the first place. Like, even if he did suggest he'd changed his mind later, like, why acquire an unprofitable social media platform unless you think because it's unprofitable you get it at a knockdown price, but you know a way to make it very profitable? Maybe by tying it into your other business dealings. Sometimes you can take over an unprofitable company, you bring it into your own stable, and all of a sudden it gains access to other parts of your business and it becomes profitable. That's not really going to happen with Musk's other businesses, or do you intend to use it to spread misinformation? And given that Musk's ideas so far make zero commercial sense, almost calculated to lose the company even more money, you would think, I think he maybe sees it more like Murdoch sees the Sun newspaper. He carries on with that still is going, but that makes a loss. But it's useful for feeding misinformation to the public. But just as Murdoch would not get this benefit from the Sun if its reputation was shattered amongst those who currently read it, Musk will find the same is true of Twitter. Confidence is absolutely crucial. If you lose that confidence, you lose it. He may just find that he's turned it into a $44 billion parlor, the social media for right-wing bigoted half-wits that fails spectacularly. What's he got then? If Parler couldn't make it with these people, how's he going to manage when Twitter's only got those people on it? He'll have blown a lot of money on the worst advertising campaign since Gerald Ratner describes his jewellery as crap. And the way I see it, if Twitter ends up like that, there's probably a reasonable chance that the people I follow on it will just coalesce somewhere else. I'll just go there instead. But those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. I hope you found the video interesting. If you did, please click the like button. And if you'd like to support the channel further, the join button for memberships. And until next time, I'll see you later.